real are shots with mermaids captured on camera? Does the serpent's caddis really exist? How does one of the most evasive ocean animals look? You'll learn the answers to these and other questions in this episode. Today, I'll show you cases when unknown creatures were caught on camera. Ningyo. And we'll start with a creature that's caused a lot of controversy on the web. Its body resembles a small primate with a length of about 12 inches. At the same time, the finding has a scaly fishtail. Such a creature, called Ningyo, is described in Japanese mythology. As soon as this creature saw the internet, everyone immediately began to attribute it to falsification, say, in reality, nothing like this can ever exist. However, scientists have conducted tests and convinced themselves otherwise, that this creature is more than real. But ordinary people were not told whom exactly these remains belong to. What do you think? Could this frightening body belong to a real Japanese mermaid? Write in the comments. To be honest, I personally accept the fact that mermaids can exist. After all, someone very similar to them has also been filmed in other places, for example, in Norway in 2018. Unfortunately, the original video was removed almost immediately after publication. It's believed to be the initiative of the government, but the internet is such a thing that remembers everything, and the mermaid video was no exception. Some users managed to save it before it was erased. Once people found out that the original had been deleted, they happily re-uploaded their version and naturally were no longer willing to just delete it. Seems like a great thing, but there's actually a sinister note in the story. Sad that it turned out this way. Now it's impossible to make sure that the video is true. Secret task. I wonder how many similar cases involving the capture of mysterious creatures happen every year around the world. Something tells me that there are a lot. It's just that often no one even tells us about it. Specialists secretly arrive on the spot, analyze the body, take it with them, and send it for closed research. Basically, everything happens just like in this video. The footage shows several men in special suits with chemical protection carrying someone's body from the shore. I don't need to explain that if it was an animal's body, no one would have bothered about it. It's possible to guess who it was, but if you look closely, you'll really see a silhouette of a mermaid in the mysterious object. Or am I just imagining it? And as practice shows, you don't have to engage in regular patrol of the coast to notice such unknown monsters. You can just live your life and, for example, teach people how to row. This is exactly what the man in the following story was doing when he suddenly saw a mysterious underwater creature. The creature, filmed in the waters of Taiwan, resembled an unnaturally long fish with some whitish fins. The rowing instructor posted the video on the internet, and the aquatic monster eclipsed even the world-famous Nessie for a while. Some people are shocked by the underwater creature that cannot be explained by scientists, while others do not know how to comment on the birth of a two-headed goat. In this case, it's clear to everyone that it turned out to be because of a common mutation. However, the fact that the creature has two heads does not let you take your eyes off it. The initial shock was replaced by curiosity and even emotion, so that the newborn goat got the name Janus in honor of the two-faced ancient Roman god. When this goat was last visited, which was in 2020, he looked great, had a good appetite, and showed no signs of ill health. Hopefully he's still doing well today. The following story is more recent. It happened to a resident of Oklahoma in 2023. At the time this report was recorded, the main character of the story, who also lives in the house, heard some strange noises at her door for about a month. The sounds occurred exclusively at night. Initially, the girl took them for strange coincidences or gusts of wind. The weather was really stormy in those days. When it calmed down, the sounds continued to appear. Staying up all night was a bad idea, so the lady set up a surveillance camera and checked the footage in the morning. What she saw there shocked her to the core. It turned out that there was a strange creature flying right near her house that even experts could not identify. Zoologists rejected the idea of a bat at once because such an animal would not knock on the house door time after time. Now it's suggested that the homeowner was visited by an unusually large moth, and if that's true, it's really quite rare. You believe in such coincidences? Could it be something mystic after all? Speaking of mystic things, Personally, I've never understood people who go out to walk their dogs in the middle of the night. Well, wait until morning or do everything in the evening. Why go for a walk when there will be no living soul outside the window except you? Of course, it can lead to frightening consequences, as with this girl from England. Moreover, she had heard about the scary stories in the local park, but she still went for a walk there with her dog. And it's impossible to explain until now what she'd managed to film there. During the walk, the girl claims to have met a ghost. As far as I'm concerned, the figure crawling across the road on long limbs is more reminiscent of some kind of demon. Whoever it was, the lady sensed the intruder's presence in time and managed to get out of there safely. She only noticed the monster at home while watching the footage. When we see a mysterious ghost on footage, we can always write it off for a well-edited prank or something like that. But what if we're shown real remains that have been tested by researchers and scientists with not a single trace of falsification? That's right, I get scared after something like that too. It was in England. While walking her dog, a girl named Julie Barker found a skeleton on the beach. Or rather, the skeleton was found by her faithful dog. At first, the Hampshire resident thought it was some ugly gristle. However, she recognized its wrinkled skin soon. Her mind was full of doubt and Julie called a special service to the scene. Don't think it cleared up immediately after that, though. It didn't. Those remains were taken away with them, and the girl was not given any answer at all for a long time. The theories about aliens taking over our world began to proliferate on the web, but suddenly, unexpectedly for Julie, she did get the answer. The scientist said it was the remains of an ordinary stingray and she had nothing to worry about. But tell me, please, wouldn't the scientists have realized it right away if it was really a stingray? Strange. I somehow think the researchers are hiding the truth on purpose so as to not cause panic. The rarest wild cat. This is what the internet is saying about Serpens catus, or snake cat. It's believed that it lives in the most inaccessible areas of the Amazon and never comes out to meet people, considering us unfriendly and dangerous. Whether this is true or not, no one knows for sure, but the photo, accidentally taken by one of the researchers, makes you wonder on this score. According to it, the cat is still real. Since there's really no information about this animal, it's very rare and probably unique. Nevertheless, a part of the viewers confidently stated that they're trying to deceive us. Allegedly, a human used artificial intelligence and asked the machine to combine an ordinary cat and a mangrove snake with similar coloring. What is absolutely not fake is the Pikachu dog. And no, this is not some rare species, but the most common animal with the owner who wanted to give him a cute color. For the first time, the shots with this pet were published from a basketball game, and instead of admiring them, people began to pay attention to the owner, to condemn him for the fact that the paint can harm the health of the dog. Except that, as the young man himself said later, he consulted with the best specialists on this issue, picked the right paint, and is sure that the health of the pet will not be affected in any way because of this. Would you like to have the same Pokemon? Mysterious creature. If seeing a four-legged Pikachu raises the question in my mind, how did they do this to him? Then seeing this creature makes me think of nothing but, what planet is this creature from? On the coast of South Carolina, USA, people saw something incredibly strange. A mysterious creature swam in the water unlike any known to science. Wanting to understand the question, eyewitnesses immediately sent a record to the department. However, they could not give them an answer. The members of the department sent the material further to the Research Institute of Marine Resources. But the specialists there just shook their heads. More or less adequate assumptions involve squid and sea slugs. Somehow I still think that it's something else. Perhaps even someone from another planet. Oh, I think I know who would be very excited about such an obscure creature. All museum workers would be crazy about it because to have something like that in their collection means to increase the flow of tourists. Although, on the other hand, the employees of the same historical museum in Indiana, USA receive as a presentation a lot of interesting things, even without this underwater monster. For example, the last curious parcel they told about was this mummy of a hybrid rat and human. The sender chose to remain anonymous, but the first thing that comes to mind when seeing such a gift is, "Thank you for your wit." But when the museum staff looked at the mummy a little closer, everyone's jaws hit the floor. Turned out to be real. According to the package attached, it's Rat Boy. Several years ago, it was found in the basement of an abandoned hospital. After that, the mummy belonged to the owner of the circus, and he gave it to his friend, the grandfather of the anonymous donor. The creepy souvenir will definitely be included in the museum's exhibition as soon as they sign the necessary documents with the generous donor. Unfortunately, you can't put it on display without that. After all those strange underwater monsters or human-rat hybrids, a white albino snake seems perfectly normal, although if you look into the matter, it's as rare as the others. This unique guest was encountered in India. After heavy rains, the snake got lost and crawled to people. As soon as they noticed it, the cobra greatly frightened the locals. No one was ready for such a rare guest. But then, when specialists introduced people closer to it, on the contrary, everyone began to show special interest in the reptile and even care for it. The main thing is that people should not overdo this because cobras are extremely poisonous snakes. And the fact that they're albino does not deprive their body of toxin. I wonder if this creature is venomous, a Texas resident named Suzanne thought to herself. The girl, as always, was walking along the beach and thinking about life when suddenly there was a strange silhouette in front of her. She came closer and froze like a stumbling block. A mysterious monster with a long body and a giant mouth lay on sand, studded with razor-sharp teeth. The creature looked more like a monster from a horror movie than a real creature from our waters. Of course, the girl went into speculation and published the material on the web. She didn't have the guts to take the creature with her. What if it was alive? And judging by the fact that even experts have not yet agreed among themselves, she did the right thing. Echidna. The echidna itself is a rather fearful creature that doesn't often come into contact with humans. And the albino echidna is one of the rarest creatures. The chance to encounter it is negligible. Nevertheless, the people of New South Wales managed to do this, and in just 2 weeks, they saw the white echidna several times. But do not think that animals in nature can have either a classic or a white color. The third is not given. In fact, it's not so. The same dolphins, which were filmed in California, were glowing. Of course, experts immediately gave people a clear and correct answer as to why this happened, but this phenomenon did not look less surprising. The whole point, as it turns out, is that the dolphins disturbed some small organisms that started to glow. And since the organisms were on the dolphins' bodies, it seemed like it's the dolphins who were glowing. In fact, it's just a simple chemical reaction and a bit of luck. It's believed that these organisms emit light either for self-defense or to frighten predators or to attract stronger creatures that would eat those who trespassed on the microorganisms. Cave creature. The following story came to us from Austria. Tourists did not only see but also videotape a mysterious creature that resembled a human, shining and crawling on the walls. The video quickly became public domain. Some particularly zealous skeptics tried to prove that the recording was fake, but found no traces of splicing or editing. Several teams of experts have picked the video to separate shots and have concluded that it's genuine. Giant phantom jelly. Now take a look at an incredibly rare jellyfish. Many people would definitely consider it to be a fake too. In fact, it's a so-called ghost jellyfish that's only been observed about 100 times since its discovery in 1899. It's believed to be one of the largest jellyfishes in nature, with tentacles reaching 30 feet. The ghost jellyfish is also known for its dark coloration, which perfectly matches its midnight habitat. At the same time, it's quite problematic to study the jellyfish due to the fact that it lives at great depths, where even scientists rarely poke their inquisitive noses in. Unfortunately, that's all people have learned so far. How poisonous this jellyfish is, and whether it's poisonous at all, what it eats, how it reproduces, and other pressing issues are still shrouded in mystery. And given how rarely this jellyfish is noticed, they'll remain unanswered for many years to come. The best proof of Bigfoot's existence and the photos of Deloy's mysterious ape. Next, you'll see these and other mystical creatures caught on camera. I'm sure many of you have heard about Bigfoot a lot of times, but you've never seen a single picture or a video clip of it doing anything. So there was no sense to believe in such interesting yet mystical creatures. I, just like you, didn't believe in them until now. Here's one of the most famous proofs of Bigfoot's existence. The footage was taken in 1967. The clip is essentially a 1-minute video that shows a female Bigfoot walking down a path. Patty, that's how this Bigfoot was named, was walking somewhere and constantly looking around, worried that anyone would notice her. Proponents of theories about the existence of Bigfoot consider this video to be the best available and most irrefutable proof. However, there are a number of scientists who don't believe this video. According to them, creatures' gait is always affected by their overall weight and the degree of slouching, and this Bigfoot's gait is not what it should be. In addition, numerous studies of the remains of our ancestors said that such humanoids were very likely to walk only upright. Also, interestingly enough, the author of this scandalous video monetized his Bigfoot story even before its release, so it's likely that he simply gave this case special publicity for the sake of his own financial well-being. What do you think? Is there really no mysticism here? Or are those who think so just not ready to believe it yet? Write in the comments. Deloy's ape. That's the name of a primate species that, fortunately, is still not considered officially confirmed. Why fortunately? And what exactly are these primates? You're about to find it out. Deloy's ape is a hypothetical species of large South American primates, the existence of which was reported in Colombia in 1920 by the Swiss geologist François Deloys. He conducted research in South America. It's not difficult to guess that the primates were named after him, or rather, he himself named them so. After all, except for his own words in this promising photo, there's no other evidence of their existence. The scientist didn't say, as one, that the man was a liar and had not encountered anyone that day. On the contrary, they believed in his discovery. However, they did not believe the version that it was someone unique and mystical. According to them, most likely, Deloys encountered a representative of the spider monkeys family. And this is despite the fact that the individual described by the scientist had a height of about 5 feet, which would be abnormal. It also had no tail and behaved quite aggressively. You may ask, why didn't the scientists have proof? There's a clearly captured primate in the picture. Francois explained it to the public as follows. It wasn't the best weather that day. People were out of their minds because of this find. Frantic animal noises were heard from all directions, and everyone thought that they were about to be attacked by the congeners of this ape. The bad weather conditions, coupled with the panic, caused the researchers' boat to turn over, and the ape's body fell into the water. The ape was never found. Do mermaids exist? This question was asked by absolutely everyone immediately after the following video from Brazil hit the internet. In one of the main rivers of the country, they recorded a strange creature that had the tail of a mermaid. The monster was supposedly something mixed between a fish and a woman. Locals added fuel to the fire and said that they too had spotted this monster before, but thought they just saw things. According to them, the creature only appears when the moon appears in the sky. The mermaid performs a few tricks for people and disappears again until the next night. Even considering that these stories may be falsified, if I were the scientists, I'd still go there, set up some cameras, and wait for at least a week. If no one shows up, they won't really lose anything. And if they suddenly manage to film a mermaid, it'll be an incredible breakthrough in science. Pegasus. I think many of you have completely forgotten about this mysterious creature, but today is the time to pull out all the dusty memories and give them new colors. In the mythology of different cultures, Pegasus is a winged horse, symbolizing greatness and freedom. He appeared in Greek mythology and, according to legend, was born from the blood of Medusa after her head was cut off by the hero Perseus. It's very easy to distinguish him from a horse. Pegasus's feature is his beautiful wings, which allow him to fly. This creature inspires writers from all over the world so much that his images today can be found in almost every work about something mystical or mysterious. But I wouldn't trust such books. I prefer to believe my own eyes, and in this case, they don't lie to me. Some man from the United States posted a clip on the internet of him standing next to a real Pegasus and stroking him. I've reviewed this footage many times, as well as real experts on such recordings, and none of us found a single trace of editing. What does it mean? Is Pegasus real? But why did he appear in front of this man? Ogopogo. The Ogopogo is a legendary monster associated with the Okanagan Lake in the province of British Columbia in Canada. Although there are many stories and legends about it, the existence of the Ogopogo has not been proven. Even so, here are some interesting facts about it. The Ogopogo is described as a long, snake-like creature with a giraffe-like head and an elongated body. Many witnesses speak of it having a long neck, and others speak of several heads or ridges on its back, making it look like an elk or a lizard. There are numerous eyewitness accounts of the Ogopogo sightings. Some claim to have seen its head or one of its parts sticking out of the water, while others speak of a full body like the base of scuba gear. Here, by the way, is the most plausible version currently in existence. Not only did this couple encounter the Ogopogo, but they also filmed it. Do you think we can believe them? Local indigenous peoples such as the Salish people and the Okanagan people have their own legends about the creature living in Okanagan Lake. In their stories, the Ogopogo is considered a water spirit with special supernatural powers. These people do not doubt its existence for a moment. The hippogriff is a fantastic creature that combines the features of a griffin and a horse. It has the body, wings, and head of an eagle, as well as the front legs and torso of a horse. This creature is one of the most famous and recognizable in the world of folklore and mythology. The hippogriff has ancient origins and is mentioned in various mythologies of different cultures. Hippogriffs were originally described in ancient Greek myths, where they were depicted as creatures with eagle-like heads, snake-like tails, and leathery wings. They were renowned for their strength, speed, and unrivaled agility. Hippogriffs also found their place in English literature, particularly in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series of books. In these novels, hippogriffs are portrayed as important characters with intelligence and the ability to interact with humans. There are also other legends and tales in which hippogriffs are revealed in different forms and aspects. They can be one of the varieties of Pegasus tamed by wizards or represent an independent species of creatures. In different cultures and regions, this mythological image has been adapted to their own special beliefs and traditions. Hippogriffs are widely perceived as symbols of strength, wisdom, and virtue. They combine the power of the eagle and the nobility of the horse, representing a harmonious combination of these qualities. Probably because of this, and also, of course, because of external similarities, the hippogriff is often compared to the shoebill. It's believed that if the mystical creatures are extinct, then shoebills are their descendants, which in the future will become like them. These very strange storks do resemble hippogriffs. They have the same powerful and long beak, as well as a fearless character. Gargoyle. If you think that the lack of video footage means that this creature is unreal, you are sorely mistaken. Many creatures have an impeccably developed sense of danger and the ability to disguise themselves. Thus, they're very difficult to spot, even with modern detection devices. For example, up until now, we thought gargoyles were unreal. Now, take a look at this video. What do you think now? According to locals, the petrified guardian disappeared from one of their cathedrals and was spotted in the sky afterward. It's believed that the gargoyle received an order from someone above and was forced to go on a mission. People searched for it for a long time but never found it. Then, one night, the petrified guardian returned to its place as if nothing had happened. If you remember the history, then everything was just like that. These creatures served as guards and were very disciplined. Once they'd completed their master's task, they would return to their place and turn back into stone. While a gargoyle is in this state, it doesn't need food or water. But if it comes to life, it'll feed on people, livestock, or wild animals. That's why many people didn't want such guards and consciously placed them in such a stone shell from which it was impossible to get out. And that's not all. Next, I'll show you mystical creatures that people didn't believe existed until they were caught on camera. The protagonist of the video was doing his favorite thing, diving in the area of Malta. Suddenly, under the water, he came across an unusually beautiful and at the same time mysterious creature. It was completely transparent and looked like a jellyfish. But it wasn't a jellyfish. But then what was it? what could this glass fish be? With these questions, the man went straight to the scientists who gave him the answers. The diver's eyes fell upon Thaliacea. These transparent guys are not only beautiful underwater inhabitants, but also, as it turned out, very useful. They have the ability to collect and tamp down carbon dioxide at the bottom of the ocean. Simply put, they clean up the environment at depth. Piglet squid. It sounds like some kind of alien or crossed creature ready to scare everyone around it. Nevertheless, in front of us is a pretty cute creature with beautiful eyes. And there, where its mouth is the so-called photophore, a special glow organ of sea creatures. In general, these creatures do not exceed 4 inches in length, live in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans at a depth of more than 325 feet, and lead an unhurried lifestyle. But there's something curious here too. This squid swims upside down. This tuft, which is near the head, is actually a tentacle. There may be something else wrong with it, but we don't know that yet. People haven't studied the piglet squid much, so no one can tell even about its diet in detail. It's a pity. I really wanted to get to know this cutie a little better. If a hybrid like the piglet squid is something cute and curious, then creatures like the spider moth, which the protagonist of the following video stumbled upon, are repulsive. At first glance, it may seem that we're facing a demonic creature with long legs, or yet unknown to mankind parasite that's absorbed the body of a moth. However, people have found an explanation even for this strange creature. In front of us is the tiger moth. These hairy legs, which cannot be overlooked, appear only during mating. Through them, the creature releases pheromones, and numerous hairs help to spread the scent around. There are many such butterflies in Australia. In my opinion, this is another reason not to go to the unique continent. Shoebill. The following creature may seem fictional at first glance, since something like this is usually found in cartoons or movies. Another version that may come to mind is that the creature has long been extinct. But neither the first nor the second version is true, because in front of us is the shoebill, a real rare bird with an unusual appearance. The bird belongs to the pelicaniforms and is very similar to a dinosaur. The first thing that catches your eye when you encounter it is a large, light yellow beak with a curved hook on the tip, which looks like a shoe, hence the name of the bird. As for the size of the bird, on average it's a little more than 3 feet tall, its wingspan's about 6.5 feet, and its weight does not exceed 15.5 pounds. The eyes of the shoebill are located not on both sides of the skull but in the front. Because of this, the bird has binocular vision. And another feature that's much more obvious is the beak. With it, the shoebill can easily hunt anyone it wants. Most often the prey is fish, but sometimes the shoebill can swallow a baby crocodile. In addition to hunting, these guys can use their beak for other purposes. For example, to scoop up water and cool their babies in the heat. And when adults sleep, they place the beak on their chest so that it doesn't outweigh the whole body. Axolotl. And this is a cute and cuddly inhabitant of bodies of water, looking more like a cartoon character than a serious and dangerous predator. In general, it is. The axolotl has one of the cutest little faces and a charming smile. And now you'll understand that it's a happy face for a reason. The axolotl can reproduce while remaining a baby, can also live longer than many pets, and if the creature accidentally loses a limb or a tail, it'll easily grow new ones. This cute creature is usually no more than 12 inches long, and its weight's about 10.5 ounces. With such insignificant size, the larva still somehow manages to live 10 to 15 years. And now I'm going to surprise you even more. Remember what I said about growing a lost tail and limbs? Well, if that's not enough for you, then the axolotl can grow even a new brain or spine. Our wonderful friend eats worms, snails, crustaceans, and amphibians. Speaking of food, scientists believe that the axolotl lives so long not because of its unique structure, but because of its extremely high voracity and cannibalism. If you wanted an unusual friend for yourself at home, I want to surprise you. This creature is possible to have at home, and if you do your best, you can even help it turn into a mole salamander. To do so, it's recommended to move it to a drier environment or lower the water level in the aquarium. Another way is to add the hormone thyroxine to the food. This process doesn't have to wait long, a couple of weeks is enough. Your friend will lose its gills as well as change its color and body shape. As you can see, sometimes people encounter really unusual creatures, in the existence of which it would be impossible to believe for an ignorant person. However, there are cases in the world that are much more mystical and mysterious, and that's exactly what I'm going to talk about now. Are dragons real? That's what I thought about the first time I saw the video. There's a whole crowd of people who don't understand whether it's a dream or a reality. Did they really find the skeleton of a dragon, or was someone playing a joke on them? Moving forward a little, I should say that with 100% probability, no one has ever figured out if it was a trick of nature or a prank. In any case, the story's frightening and thought-provoking. The fact is that scientists took the skeleton to themselves and were shocked to learn that it wasn't artificial. That is, we're faced with a real creature that actually once existed. What if it's the remains of one of the last dragons to hide from humans? Maybe they still exist. Share your thoughts about this find in the comments. Dwarves are small creatures from Western European and, above all, Germanic Scandinavian folklore, as well as frequent characters of fairy tales and legends. According to legend, these guys live underground, wear beards, and are famous for their wealth and skill. In the following video, however, some dwarf apparently decided to get out to finish important business. A backyard camera captured an incomprehensible creature that looked very much like a dwarf. It had a white cap, the creature was constantly looking around and acting strangely. Although there were people in the street at that moment, no one heard any suspicious sounds or noticed the dwarf. Maybe we're faced with a well-edited fake, or perhaps we're faced with a case of an encounter with a real dwarf. Everyone's heard of dinosaurs. We all know that they lived on Earth and that they were big and dangerous. And if you'd really like to encounter them in real life, here's a little glimmer of hope for you. Not long ago, these remains were found in India. They're an incomprehensible creature that looks a lot like a dinosaur. What's more, the lizard still had flesh on its bones, which means it didn't die that long ago. Judging by the outline, the creature was a theropod, a clade of dinosaurs which includes Tyrannosaurus and the Velociraptor. The presence of flesh on the bones has scientists stumped. They're sort of ready to declare that this is a dinosaur skeleton, but you know what that would mean. What's more, the skeleton was found somewhere in the depths of the local Underground Railroad. Personally, after this discovery, I would have thoroughly searched the entire subway. You never know who else can be found there. A shark with a human face. This was a catch of a local fisherman in Indonesia. The 48-year-old man caught it near Rot Nadal Regency. At first, he caught a normal adult shark in the net, and when the fisherman cut open its belly, he found 3 pups inside. 2 looked like their mother, but the third one suddenly had a human face with big eyes and mouth. The man decided to keep the baby shark and brought it home, where all the neighbors immediately rushed to look at the rara avis. Even though he was offered a lot of money for such a find, the fisherman refused. He's convinced that the fish will bring him luck, so it's worth keeping as a keepsake. What would you do in his place? Would you sell the shark or keep it too? And in general, write whether you believe in such a find. And now I'm going to talk about a creature completely unknown to science. It was filmed absolutely by accident by passerby who noticed something incomprehensible in the distance. The operator zoomed in and saw the chupacabra, a creature that, according to legends, hunts animals, kills them, and sucks their blood. There's no evidence of this creature, only rumors and comments of people saying they've seen it. But the most frightening thing here is that this creature completely fits the description from legends and fairy tales. The same hunched silhouette, the same unsteady movement, and clumsy goings-on concentrated in a woolly shell. Maybe the chupacabra's real after all. Gigantopithecus, a true mystery of the past. How did these primates with incredible height, strength, and intelligence vanish into oblivion? Or are they still alive? Let's find out. I'll tell you the history of Gigantopithecus. Their origin is still a mystery to scientists, as we have very limited information about this genus. However, based on the available data, we can make some assumptions. The ancestors of Gigantopithecus are believed to have appeared in South Asia during the Miocene era about 9 to 6 million years ago. At this time, the region was undergoing significant changes in climate and landscape. The emergence of broad-leaved forests and tropical jungles created a favorable environment for primates to develop. The predecessors of these primates may be apes from the same genus as orangutans. They're considered related species, and they share some similarities in tooth and skull structure. However, we're still unable to determine the origin and evolution of Gigantopithecus more precisely due to the limited number of fossil finds and insufficient data. More detailed research is needed to find additional evidence and expand our understanding of the species. The first remains that people stumbled upon were reported in 1935. A paleontologist named Gustav Heinrich Ralph von Koningswald bought strange ape teeth in a Chinese store. Merchants called them dragon's teeth, but the man understood that this was nothing more than a bait and switch and a desire to pass off the fake as something real. These teeth, although very large, had some common features with human teeth, on the basis of which a hypothesis about giant human ancestors arose among paleoanthropologists. About 20 years have passed, and the discovery of an entire jaw consisting of similar teeth has proved to the whole world that ancient giant apes actually existed. However, then people kept finding some teeth or jaws. Basically, the traces of Gigantopithecus were limited to this. Nevertheless, scientists still managed to draw rather intriguing conclusions. For example, Gigantopithecus were up to 10 and even 13 feet tall and weighed from 660 to 1,200 pounds. That is, they were the largest primates of all time. Lifestyle. In terms of diet, the giant primates were probably herbivorous. This assumption is made on the basis of analysis of their teeth and bones, which indicate that they may have fed on fruit, leaves, and soft parts of plants. The absence of meat remains and the absence of evidence of hunting indicate their vegetarian diet. It's believed that at some point in their existence, these primates even crossed paths with humans and may have coexisted with them, but it's pretty hard to imagine exactly what it looked like, especially when you consider the fact that primates could be quite aggressive. For example, in 1957, scientists made a discovery by finding another jaw of Gigantopithecus. However, it was not simple. It contained the bones of large herbivores, which was proof of both predation and their strength. Although people still do not know definitively what exactly caused their extinction, most researchers believe that climate change and competition with other predators could be among the main reasons. Allegedly, they did not eat grass as much as full-fledged meat, but predators intervened which fought back and did not allow Gigantopithecus to easily hunt anyone they wanted. Based on the data obtained on the jaws of the creatures, scientists have put forward another theory. It suggests that the brain of these primates was quite large. It was definitely larger than the gorilla's brain, and given the intelligence of the gorilla, we can assume that Gigantopithecus were much smarter than we think. Hence, the version about cooperation with humans becomes not so absurd, right? Although this is not a guarantee of impeccable intelligence, but it definitely makes sense because size matters. Moreover, sometimes huge stone tools are found in the layers. The version that they belong to humans is immediately refuted. They're too big and strange. However, for such giants as Gigantopithecus, these tools could well be suitable. But how can this be? The giant ape lives, has great mental abilities, and also perfectly wields the tools, but suddenly it disappears from the face of the earth? There are quite a lot of versions about it, and I'll share the main ones with you. The first and most popular one says that climate and habitat change are to blame. During the Pleistocene era, there were significant climate fluctuations with glacier and interglacial periods. These changes may have affected the availability of food and general conditions for survival. It also suggested that competition with other primates may have played a role in the Gigantopithecus extinction. The giants competed with them for food and resources and were not always victorious. It's also worth telling you about one real story that happened to a scientist named Maurice Duke. At that time, the man was 42 years old. He lived in the United States and worked near a military base. Maurice's tasks included researching the data that the intelligence service shared with the military, as well as patrolling the territory. The man always coped with the first task quite easily, but the second task constantly caused him some kind of fear. The man didn't know what to do because an unknown monster from the forest could suddenly attack him. The man was armed, but he never shot for real, only on the training field. In general, you've understood the mood of the person. According to Maurice, on the day when this happened to him, his patrol route was along the mountains. The reddish slopes were divided by small gorges, among which one could sometimes find full-fledged deep caves. The forest surrounding the beautiful blue lake was full of the smells of foliage, berries, and mushrooms, which took Maurice's mind off all the fuss around and made him forget about his problems for a while and feel relaxed. At this pace, the man walked around several rocky ledges and froze in surprise. A broken pine tree lay right in front of him, but it wasn't broken by the will of nature, not because of some cataclysm, and clearly not by workers. While Maurice stood in thought, the silence was broken by a terrible grinding of stones. Neither a gorilla nor a giant man appeared from behind the rock. It was a creature completely unknown to Duke before. He'd never encountered anyone like this in his life. The man said that the first thought that came to his mind at that moment was the idea of Gigantopithecus, but he immediately discarded it, thinking that this could not be possible. If Maurice had only known how wrong he was. As soon as the creature got closer to him, it became clear that it was Gigantopithecus. The giant ape had a straight position of its head, it had no neck, and the width of its shoulders could not be measured at all. Spreading the fingers of its monstrous hands, the giant rested them against the stone and straightened up, turning out to be the height of a large elephant. It was not even fear but great amazement that riveted the scientist to the spot. Maurice came closer, showing calmness and tenderness. Although the Gigantopithecus felt fear, it started showing curiosity and allowed Duke to approach it. They interacted for several minutes, exchanging glances and gestures and trying to find a common language. The man soon realized that this encounter was unique. Soon the Gigantopithecus left the territory, and Maurice ran to the base to report the incident to his colleagues. He led them to the very place, but there was nothing but footprints there anymore. The remains of a sea dragon, the fossils of a predator with a terrifying jaw, and the skeleton of a 33-foot-long crocodile. Keep watching, and you'll find out what other creepy creatures lived on our planet many millions of years ago. Who says dragons don't exist? They do exist. At least sea dragons do. After all, it was one of them that scientists recently found. About a couple of years ago, employees of an English nature reserve were cleaning a water reservoir and found something large and strange sticking out of the mud. At first, they thought they had found a dinosaur, but when archaeologists and paleontologists arrived on the scene, they determined that it was the remains of a 33-foot prehistoric predator, the largest ever found in Britain. More specifically, they found the remains of an ichthyosaur. It was dubbed the sea dragon. These creatures lived on our planet 230 to 70 million years ago, reached 82 feet in length, and fed on fish, mollusks, and reptiles. Although the remains looked creepy and frightened the first people who found them, the find itself became one of the greatest in the history of paleontology. This, by the way, was not the only dragon excavated. So last spring, another eerie and unusual find shocked scientists from Argentina. In the province of Mendoza, an intact skeleton of an unknown huge pterodactyl was found. Its wingspan reached about 30 feet. For comparison, the wingspan of the golden eagle, the largest eagle on the planet, is only about 6.5 feet. The creature was named the Dragon of Death. Scientifically, it was called Thanatostragon amaru. The find was a breakthrough and sensation because pterodactyl bones are very fragile, so usually they're found only broken in small fragments. In this case, however, the bones were very large. As for the giant itself, it lived on our planet 146 to 66 million years ago. This pterodactyl had a huge head, a long neck, and a capacious beak, which easily accommodated even very large prey. It's possible that the dragons of death even fed on the dinosaurs. Dunkleosteus. But this creature did not eat dinosaurs, simply because it lived long before they appeared. Dunkleosteus inhabited our planet about 415 to 360 million years ago, and at one time terrified its contemporaries. Scientists immediately realized this as soon as they began to stumble upon the creepy remains of this prehistoric monster. Its large head with the terrifying jaw tells us that the animal was not to be messed with. Dunkleosteus grew to at least 13 to 20 feet in length and weighed at least a ton. Their head alone could be about 3.2 feet long. The head, or rather the mouth of Douglassius, was equipped with, no, not sharp teeth as you might think. These predators had no teeth at all, but bony plates. But don't think that's a flaw, it's just the opposite. Douglassius literally crushed its prey with its plates. It could crush even large creatures. Scientists believe that the jaws of this prehistoric monster were more powerful than those of today's jaguars, lions, and bears. In addition, Douglassius instantly opened its mouth, creating a stream of water near it that sucked its prey inside. The remains of the next terrifying creature were found relatively recently, about 7 years ago. At the time, paleontologists were working in southern Tunisia and suddenly stumbled upon a real monster, something that resembled a crocodile. It was about 33 feet long and weighed 6,600 pounds. That's an incredible size. For comparison, saltwater crocodiles, which are the largest of all modern crocodiles, grow up to 16 to 23 feet long and weigh a maximum of 4,400 pounds. The new monster was named the Machimosaurus rex. Apparently, it was named after T-Rex. By the way, they didn't live together. Tyrannosaurus appeared later, and Machimosaurus lived about 130 million years ago. Although Machimosaurus rex looks a lot like a crocodile, it's not a real crocodile. It's a crocodilomorpha, roughly speaking, the forerunner and distant ancestor of the modern green-toothy creatures. The monster found in Tunisia, according to scientists, kept everyone in its habitat in awe. Its prey was literally any animal that came close to water. Machimosaurus rex also fed on carrion. Take a look at this creepy paw. It seems that such remains might belong to some unknown monster, a creature unknown to science, or even a mythical creature, right? Such a find would frighten anyone. But in fact, if you know the truth, there's nothing scary about it. Actually, these are the remains of moa, an extinct bird that lived in New Zealand. Moa were real giants. Some individuals reached almost 13 feet in height and weighed about 550 pounds. It's safe to say that moa were a kind of analog of their modern ostriches in ancient New Zealand. They couldn't fly, were distinguished by their large size, and ran fast. Moa fed on fruits, roots, shoots, and leaves. By the way, like ostriches, moa also swallowed pebbles, which helped them to grind tough food. Unfortunately, in the 16th century, moa became extinct. They were exterminated by the local Maori people. However, some believe that a few giant birds have survived to this day and are now hiding somewhere in the caves of New Zealand. Although moa were not birds of prey, they posed a great threat to animals and native people who could simply be trampled. Yet moa were far less dangerous than many other prehistoric animals, which can rightly be called monsters and a huge threat. Fortunately, all of them have long been extinct. I suggest you take a look at them too. Stay tuned to see the most dangerous and creepiest prehistoric animals. Tylosaurus. Let's start with a creature, the mere sight of which is frightening. Tylosaurus is not a dinosaur, as you might think, but a huge mosasaur that lived on our planet about 80 to 70 million years ago. It disappeared along with the dinosaurs, but in its time it stirred the pot. It was up to 50 feet long and weighed more than 8 tons. Such a monster had to be reckoned with. It was not only one of the biggest mosasaurs, but also one of the biggest beasts in history in general. The elongated head and jaws were the main weapon of Tylosaurus in the hunt. It accelerated, rammed its prey with its deadly wedge, and stunned it, after which it opened its mouth and gradually ate its prey. It could deal with any creature. In this, it was helped by very sharp teeth. Jacalopterus. Do you remember the Douglassius with its bony plates instead of teeth? Well, at one point, it had to share the Earth with Jacalopterus, one of the most terrifying creatures in history. These are the genus of crustaceans that lived about 410 million years ago. Their length is amazing, 8.2 feet. Just imagine if, in modern times, you saw a crayfish of the size somewhere in a body of water. You'd obviously feel bad. Scientists think that Jacalopterus hunted small vertebrates, trilobites, as well as their relatives, which means that sometimes they even resorted to cannibalism. Few creatures could oppose anything to this giant arthropod. It was clearly merciless and very powerful. Helicoprion. Next, we have a creature that can be described in many ways. It's both one of the most bizarre fish in history, one of the most dangerous predators of all time, and a candidate for the title of the most unusual jaw among all animals. Either way, Helicoprion was very dangerous and scary. When scientists first found fossils of this fish, they paid attention to a strange spiral. It took them a long time to figure out what exactly it was, but then they came to the conclusion that it was the lower jaw of the monster. Then a debate ensued as to exactly how Helicoprion could use it, and the researchers suggested that the spiral worked on the principle of a circular saw. Helicoprion literally cut its prey by scrolling it along the saw, which spiraled towards its mouth as the animal moved its jaws. Scientists believe that Helicoprion could grow up to 39 feet in length, so with such a saw it could destroy literally any of its aquatic contemporaries. Liopleurodon. The next monster from our episode could well have competed with Helicoprion, but this was not the case. Liopleurodon lived much later. It caught the time of the dinosaurs' heyday, and it couldn't help but take advantage of it. The enormous plesiosaurus lived in the oceans and often made forays into the coast. There it ambushed and attacked the dinosaurs near the water and then dragged them to their deaths. As for the depths, it could always find food there. It fed on fish and marine reptiles. Giant teeth of the reptile had jagged edges, thanks to which Liopleurodon could easily tear pieces of meat off its prey and also bite even large prey in half. Only the most powerful and large creatures like mosasaurs could defeat it. For the rest, it was a perfect and extremely dangerous predator. And finally, let's take a look at the sky. Pigeons, eagles, hawks, and tits fly there now. But a couple of tens of millions of years ago, you can see the giant Pelagornis sandersi in the sky. These are some of the largest flying birds of all time, and some even call them the historical leader. They had a wingspan of 25 feet. This is 3 times larger than the largest of today's golden eagles. Scientists believe that this terrifying winged giant was a seabird of prey that grabbed its prey from the surface of the water. Because of its giant wings and size in general, Pelagornis flew differently than modern birds. It accelerated, jumped off a cliff, spread its wings, and simply hovered, flapping its wings periodically. Right on the move, it would grab its prey from the water and eat it. Crocodile. Next up is another famous toothy creature. Not all crocodiles are very large, but you can't say that about saltwater crocodiles. They're the largest terrestrial predators in the world at the moment, which, along with this, boasts the most powerful bite in the world of modern animals, as well as the ability to live in saltwater. That's exactly the kind of predator you're seeing right now. This is Cassius, and he's the largest crocodile kept in captivity. He's almost 18 feet long and weighs about a ton. This is a lot, even by the standard of saltwater crocodiles. As a rule, common individuals are not as long and weigh several hundred kilos less. Cassius is not only one of the largest animals in history, and at the moment, but also one of the oldest modern creatures. He's over 100 years old and has been in captivity for almost 40 years. Like many other saltwater crocodiles, he was caught so that he would not wreak havoc and kill innocent domestic animals and people. However, in comparison with this giant, even huge Cassius seems small. This crocodile was caught in 1955. The couple, Christina and Ron Pulowski, had a hard time with the beast as it was the all-time record holder. It was over 28 feet long. This is not just a lot, but abnormal, even by the standards of the saltwater crocodile. I suggest we leave modern animals alone and plunge into the prehistoric world, because that's where you can find creatures that make crocodiles, elephants, and even whales seem tiny in comparison. Keep watching them to see. Let's start with the dinosaurs, because they're the main giants of the prehistoric world. It's true, there were many huge creatures among them, but hardly anyone could compete in terms of size with the Patagotitan maorum. This dinosaur was only excavated in 2017, and it immediately caused a sensation. Scientists recognized it as the largest dinosaur in history, as well as one of the largest animals of all time in general. This giant lizard was up to 121 feet long and weighed 50 to 60 tons. That is, it was even longer than blue whales, though inferior to them in terms of weight. This giant lived in what is now Argentina about 100 million years ago. It appears to have been a plant-eating dinosaur. In the places where Patagotitan maorum lived, there were vast forests, which were enough for the giants to feed themselves. Giants also inhabited the territory of modern Romania. One of them is Hatzegopteryx. If you have a good understanding of prehistoric animals, then you've already realized that we're looking at a pterosaur. However, not an ordinary one, but one of the largest. These flying giants had a wingspan of up to 40 feet. It's about 6 times the wingspan of the golden eagle, the largest eagle of our time. Imagine how creepy it would be if Hetzegopteryx were not extinct and still flying on our planet. Speaking of extinction, Hetzegopteryx suffered the same fate as the dinosaurs. They died out simultaneously after the asteroid impact. Before that, they led a predatory lifestyle and kept their contemporaries at bay. The giant pterosaurs fed on large prey and also did not disdain eating carrion. Paraceratherium. Some of the largest modern animals are rhinos. Everyone's seen them, and everyone is well aware of the capabilities and size of these giants. But compared to prehistoric rhinos, today's rhinos seem tiny. Among all, the genus called Indracotherium, which representatives lived 30 to 20 million years ago, stands out. The largest of these was the Paraceratherium species. This prehistoric rhino weighed up to 24 tons and grew up to almost 16 feet in height. Modern rhinos are many times smaller. Scientists believe that Paraceratherium were the tallest and heaviest land mammals that ever existed. Like modern rhinos, Paraceratherium were mammals. Scientists believe that these giants tried not to get involved in conflicts, but on occasion they could deal with literally any enemy. Few animals could oppose anything to such a huge thing. That's all, guys. Which giant impressed you the most? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you later.